Gilbert Gottfried is here. Gilbert, of course, is a comedian. He is known to...
He's a controversial comedian.
He's also known as Rabbi Gottfried.
Yes.
He's also known as Dice Gottfried. There he is, Rabbi Gottfried.
Dracula Gottfried.
And Dracula Gottfried, that's right. He's known. He's a man of many names. And you know...
How
was your Sukkot, Rabbi? And how is your I guess Simchas Torah is coming up, is that correct? Would you say a special prayer for my audience? Many of us are hurting financially, Rabbi, as you know. Many of us.
Compassionate Rabbi.
That's right. You're so compassionate. You're considered leading. You're even bigger than Rabbi Botiach Simchat.
The Mashiach.
You're bigger than the Mashiach himself. Is your congregation hurting right now?
So much trouble, but they're suffering all over the world.
Do a prayer for everyone at home. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So when you were a little kid, did your parents drag you to temple all the time? Was that where you came up with this impression?
It wasn't all the time. I mean, but I realized there were a lot of funerals.
Right.
It would always be someone, like, you know, someone's cousin or uncle or something who was dying.
And you would get up.
Yeah.
But I'm just imagining what it was like in your house. Would you ever get up in front of your parents and say, "Oh, that was awful," and then all of a sudden do an impression of the guy singing?
Oh, yeah.
And would they tell you to shut up,
Yeah.
or did they recognize your brilliance?
Yeah, because I remember it was always... We were always going because it was like it was weddings and funerals.
Were you going to like Brooklyn to a cemetery?
Yeah.
It's your whole day or your whole miserable day.
And you'd put the pebble on the tombstone.
Right.
Yeah, that was a big... I used to enjoy
What did that signify? You go over to a tombstone and you put a rock on it. And what does that mean in the Jewish religion?
I have no idea. But I remember you used to find a pebble on the floor, on the ground. You'd put it... And
is it because the Jews are too cheap for flowers? Is that what you think it is? What would it be?
Yes. Yeah, I would think that.
And then I guess the rabbi would get up and he would start singing this prayer, right? And did the absurdity drive you crazy because you'd say, "This means nothing to me. These words mean nothing to me."
People, who are you even there for?
Right. Like, any emotion in the room would have been drained out by this singing, right?
And then when they would talk, it was also like, it was also in a half singing, half talking. This man was a wonderful man, and he had a loving wife and 3 beautiful children.
And you saw the hypocrisy, too, because it appeared that the guy knew nothing of these guys. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was like...
And then when everyone was really bored and miserable and hungry, he'd start to sing forever, right?
Oh,
and these songs that you do would go on and on and on and on.
Yeah, and it's not like a regular song where you think, oh, I could hear it like winding up now.
You didn't even know when it was going to end.
Yeah, like...
All of a sudden you think it was going to end.
Where's the chorus where we can all sing along?
Yeah, if someone's singing Moon River, you know, at the end, okay, this is the end.
Because you have a couple of verses, a couple of choruses, and you kind of know it's going to end at some point.
They do the bridge, and then...
at some point the guy would take a breath, and you think it'll be over, and then he'd wind up again, right?
Oh, yeah, and then it would be... And
you're in a suit and a tie, and you don't know why, and you don't. And now you're angry at the fucking person who died for dragging you to this thing.
Oh yeah. The only good thing was, like, if it was a funeral, somebody would buy one of those little white boxes with assorted cookies. That was part of dying in the Jewish religion.
Right. So you got that. It's just unbelievable. It's not fun being a Jew. Not only are you a minority in the country, but every holiday is about death and describe. Like while Jon Stewart did a bit on this, He said, while Christian kids were out having Easter and they had little chocolate bunnies and they had little fun, Passover was going on where you got to eat charosis, which was the mortar of dead Jews. And the bones and the blood and the lice and the plagues. There's no wonder that most Jews are neurotic, right?
All of it, yeah. All the holidays are like, it's like basically stabbing yourself. And
the celebration is not a celebration. Like Jesus dying, you think would be a terrible thing, and the Jesus being resurrected, and yet it's chocolate bunnies and Santa Claus and gifts and all kinds of stuff.
Somehow the Christians know how to celebrate.
They know how to have a party. The Jews, it's like, I remember you'd sit around a Passover table, and you're dipping bitter herbs into salt to represent the Jews' tears from the Pharaoh beating them to death, and blood and wine, dipping your pinky into wine to represent the blood that spilled all over the fucking desert, and matzah with harosis, because the Jews were wandering the desert for 40 fucking years with mortar and shit. I mean, you want to fucking hang yourself, right?
And then finally it's like they say, well, you could eat like a tiny bit of matzah, like a thumbnail size, and you're going, oh, thank God.
And then back to those songs again.
And then then they pass around either wine or grape juice, and that you can't even enjoy that because that's the blood of all the Jews.
The Jewish babies. So it's not a party. It's not fun. While Christian kids are having acceptance, they're part of the majority, they're having fun, they're eating chocolate bunnies and having Easter egg hunts, you're home eating the blood of dead Jews.
I would go up to people's houses, and it's like they'd have a Christmas tree and decorations.
Right.
And there'd be always like great Christmas songs and everything. And the Jews, it's like...
Did you not want to be... Did you ever think of converting, or were you afraid the Christians wouldn't take you? Was there ever that thought that maybe you didn't want to be Jewish anymore?
Oh, I remember, I read in some article that Steven Spielberg said when he was a kid, he was ashamed and embarrassed about being a Jew. And I remember reading that and going, yeah, I think every single Jew is like really ashamed and embarrassed.
And yet
by it.
You criticized, of all people, Sarah Michelle Gellar, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You said you didn't like her. This is a quote. You don't like her.
In my book, I say.
You didn't like her because you felt that she's someone who is Jewish but is trying to act like she's not Jewish. What does that mean?
Yeah, she said that she's not Jewish.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, she's got Jewish parents, but she herself is not. and I said, you just take one look at that nose.
Should she go around singing those songs that you sing?
That would be kind of hot.
By the way, are there any real words in those songs? Is that actual Hebrew? I asked somebody who knows Hebrew, I asked Shuli, I said, is there any truth to what Gilbert is singing? He said, absolutely not. There's not one word in there. But it's close, isn't it?
Yeah.
It might as well be. Well, how can you connect to a religion when you're listening to a song like that you have no idea what it means?
Oh, and it's also there. It's like the songs are suffering and pain. It screams of pain.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like somebody who's happy.
Sounds like they're on the rack.
Yeah, right. I'm stretching the rack, and all of a sudden this sound comes out of you, which is, right? Whatever that is you do.
I think, centuries ago, what would they call, the flagellists or something, where
they beat themselves with chains?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's basically what the Jews are.
And what's so great about your impression is that sometimes when you're really into doing it, you will go on forever.
Much like those ceremonies.
Because that's what really brings the reality to it. That it's not 3 seconds, it's 3 hours, right, of that.
Yeah, it's... And then they'll get to that middle portion where it's really from suffering to worse suffering.
It's dense. Do you have any religious feeling of being? I bet you probably went to Hebrew school and stuff like that.
Never went to Hebrew school.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah.
You were spared that.
Yeah.
What nice parents you had. Yeah.
Thank God.
Why do you think your parents spared you that? Were they too cheap to send you to... Did all the other little boys in your neighborhood go to Hebrew school?
Well, I wasn't Jewish where I grew up. It was like...
Where did you grow up?
I grew up, there were like in Brooklyn, and there were a lot of blacks and Puerto Ricans. So I was very popular.
And so your parents basically said, we don't want you to get bar mitzvah? God forbid someone finds out? Were you lonely as a child because you were the one white guy in a black neighborhood?
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. But you developed an excellent black impression. That's right on, dead on, right? Hello there.
Well, hello. I was working in the fresh air cab company.
Did you ever try to fit in with black people? Did you ever try to actually talk a little bit black, like, you know, with the accent and all that?
No, I never. Yeah. I knew it would be a failure.
Did you ever have to physically fight? Were you ever in a fist fight in your neighborhood?
I would sometimes get punched. I couldn't fight.
Yeah, you were not a fighter.
But
and would you go down immediately? Is that what?
Yeah, I'd fall down.
Oh, what a boring fight.
And act like I was dead.
Were you bullied? You know, when you hear these kids talking about being bullied because they got called a name, do you kind of laugh at that?
I laugh at that like crazy. Like now, we must stop bullying. And I thought that was my way of life.
Right. And look how you turned out. So when you would go home, I don't know at what age you started doing your impression of a rabbi like that, or a cantor. Would you ever go home and perform for your parents, like in their living room or anything like that, and do these impressions?
I did those, and I also talk in the book that I used to make hand puppets.
You did?
Right, yeah, paper mache hand puppets.
Right.
I had a Dracula one.
Did you do the Dracula?
Oh, yeah.
So you'd hold up, and you would be like, do it, yes.
Children, listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
Now, how old were you when you started your Dracula puppet? Because I imagine your parents probably thought, oh, my God, he's so fucking disturbed.
Of course.
But I would think this kid is a genius.
Yeah. On TV.
Why wasn't he your son?
If I had a son like Gilbert, I would. No, I wouldn't. No. I would think that is fantastic. If one of my kids could do a Dracula impression like that, I'd hug him. I'd tuck you into bed and tell you, son, we're going to make a fortune.
Well, you said your father, you used to sit with him and watch Dracula.
Oh, Dracula, Three Stooges, and Tarzan.
Oh, yeah.
Anything Dracula, Three Stooges, Tarzan, Marx Brothers, any of that stuff.
TV used to be great back then.
Oh, my God.
It's like you turn on prime time, and there'd be a movie from the 20s.
Yeah, it was great, yeah. I mean, your Groucho is so dead on.
Yeah.
You know what I didn't realize? I was listening to a best of the other day, and I tuned in the middle, and it was Impressions Week we were doing. And there was Seinfeld, you know, and I didn't know who was doing it. I went, oh, my God, this is the most dead-on fucking Seinfeld impression I've ever heard, before everybody started doing them. And then all of a sudden it was you. Like, we started talking, it was Gilbert. And I went, you know what, as many times as I've heard you do that in the past, I think when I'm sitting there watching, I never realized how great it was, but sitting on the radio listening, it's a dead-on impression. And yet, because you used to work with Seinfeld all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
In the clubs.
Yeah, and what I always say is, like, I would, like, a lot of times I'd be on stage and it would be like the waitresses and other comics and staff would run in and be laughing in the back, and the audience would be scratching their heads. And Seinfeld wasn't known at all back then.
Right.
He was just another comic there. And I would start, you know, going up on stage going, why do they say hello? Why isn't it hell high? Why do people wear shoes on their feet? Why don't they wear gloves on their feet? and Seinfeld would stay out in the bar
because he was pissed.
Yeah. So he would walk, he'd pace. He would pace back and forth and go, "That doesn't sound anything like me. Why does he think I talk in a sing-song voice? I talk perfectly normal."
So let me understand this. You would be on stage. He's a young... You were probably already well-known, right? You were kind of had your following.
I had a following in the clubs,
right.
Yeah.
Were you on TV yet at that point?
No.
No, so you're a club comic, but you had a pretty good following. You could headline. Yeah. Were you a headliner at that point?
I started doing it even before I had.
And the reason that, all jokes aside, they would call you the comics comic because you would get on stage and do a weird riff on a comic who was about to come up, right?
Yeah, and I just do stuff. Sometimes the audience would walk out on me.
Well,
like
because if no one knew Seinfeld then, and you're up on stage doing the Seinfeld impression, the only guy getting it is Seinfeld, right?
Oh, yeah.
The audience had no idea because he hadn't, or he had gone already, and you would come up. Oh, you came up after him. And you would do the impression, and it would make him upset.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't sound like him. So would he say something to you afterwards?
No.
Never did.
He was always kind of odd. Did you've met him in person?
Many times. I've hung out with him. I mean, I shouldn't say many times. Yeah. A couple of times I've seen him. I
always found with him, it's like he wouldn't look in your eyes. He was looking at the air between both of you. It'd be like that, unfocused, like.
Even back then.
You think he was awkward?
No, it's something very strange. He always found about him.
He would have, because I mean, people have always criticized you as awkward and this and that and the other thing.
I know, I'm calling someone else.
Yeah, I mean, for you to say that Seinfeld was awkward.
Calling him out.
Do you think it was just you he couldn't connect with? What would you talk about? What would a typical conversation sound like between the two of you?
Oh, yeah.
What the hell?
Nice weather we're having. Why do they call it weather? Why does rain fall down? Why doesn't it fall up?
Was his act always like that? Like he was questioning everything? I mean, did his act make you laugh, or were you actually goofing on him? Did you mean it as a tribute, or were you just like, what the fuck is this lie?
Yeah, basically.
You were goofing on him. Now, when he became very successful with the Seinfeld show, did he ever ask you to be on it?
Oh, no.
Never.
No.
He probably doesn't like you.
No, I'm sure he doesn't.
Because back in the club days, you were disrespectful to him. So go back to your home life.
Yeah, okay.
So when you'd come home and you do a brilliant Dracula.
Yes.
And you would do a puppet show with Dracula. And then you would do a rabbi at services and stuff. It didn't dawn on your parents that this is an incredible talent?
I don't know. I think they were probably a little scared. And I remember I would put on the puppet shows. Do you remember those coffee tables they used to have with like a cheap tin where you fold it out and snap?
Yeah. There was a bridge table, they call it. Like a bridge table, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would throw a blanket over it and do the puppet show.
And who were you doing this for? Did you have any friends?
No, just like my parents.
Just your parents. And would they walk by and say, schmuck, put that shit away? Or would they go, wow, there's something going on here?
I think it would go back and forth. Sometimes they'd be impressed. Other times they'd be scared by...
And I guess how many sisters do you have? Two?
Two.
Did they watch these puppet shows?
Yeah, sometimes they would watch. And I remember for the I did a Dracula and also a Jekyll and Hyde.
Right.
And I was making up my own special effects for it.
Right.
Because I took an ice cream stick and broke it in half and so they came to a point.
Right.
And I painted one of them red. So one puppet rushes at Dracula with the clean stick and shoves it in him. And then I pull out the red stick.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very inventive. How old are you at this point?
Yeah, I must have been like 2. I don't know.
I'm afraid you were like 16.
Yeah, I was like 45.
But I picture you in a dark apartment.
And before I forget, in the Jekyll and Hyde, I hid an Alka-Seltzer tablet in a glass.
Oh, that's great.
Bubbling up.
These sound like good shows. I once interviewed Charles Manson. He had the same exact story. So did your father sit down and actually sit and watch, or would he just walk by and say, you know, would you make them sit down like in a show? Because I would imagine your show actually had some content to it because you're a comedian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Dracula would be upset and he would be in that voice. And, right? Did Groucho ever get a puppet of his own and take on? Was ever Groucho versus Dracula?
Well, I was in Transylvania. And Transylvania is a place where it's called Transylvania because different areas have names. And this area was called Transylvania. And it was with a T, because it had a T sound, like title and...
Groucho, when you came up with so many of your great acts, Groucho, your brothers, were each of them treated equally, or were there some you liked better than others?
Well, Harpo was a very... You know... You might not know this, but Harpo was called Harpo because he played the harp. And sometimes in our movies, he would play the harp. And I don't know if you remember that he did in fact play the harp. So they called him Harpo.
Groucho, do you think you single-handedly killed the talk show format? Groucho, I remember you would go on the Dick Cavett show with Johnny Carson, and everyone was excited to see you, except you were almost fucking senile at that point, with your golf cap and your... And you get on, and I mean, right? I mean, Groucho would tell stories, because you're doing the impression of the near-dead Groucho, and everyone was so excited that Groucho was coming on TV.
Yeah, I remember. I would, because, you know, you'd see...
Stay up, yeah.
Yeah, you'd remember him from Duck Soup was on all the time.
Yeah, right, young man.
And he was dancing and doing all those weird songs and stuff, and then You Bet Your Life, and he was always... And then they go, and ladies and gentlemen, Groucho Marx. They go da 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 da, and you'd see this guy creeping out with the golf hat and like a turtleneck and a jacket.
It was so sad.
And he talks slow, and you go, oh my God.
You know, I don't know what the ratings were for those shows in those days, but I imagine like every TV would turn off. I mean, at some point, Groucho probably couldn't even get booked on these shows.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because you're like, oh wow, we're going to get to talk to Groucho, one of the greatest comics of all time, a legend. And then this fucking senile old man would come out, and suddenly you're like, oh shit.
And you'd remember him from his young days when it would be machine gun fire.
Wit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his jokes would be one after the other, and he'd be ad-libbing and everything. And now he would say a joke, and it seemed like it was all prepared. And like you know, someone would say, so I heard you are going fishing.
Well, that sounds pretty fishy to me.
And you go, oh, okay, I guess everyone's applauding now just because he didn't drop dead in mid-sentence.
Yeah, you know they planned that joke out for like an hour.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say, or you say you're going fishing. And then I'll say, I once interviewed Milton Berle on television.
Oh, yeah.
And he was old at that point and stuff.
Oh.
And he insisted on seeing me beforehand. I said, no, I don't want to do that. Why don't you just get out and talk? He goes, no, I will not walk out unless Howard comes back and talks to me. So I go back to the dressing room, you know, begrudgingly. And I'm like, I don't work like this. And so he says to me, sits me down, and like for an hour, he's giving me this harangue about, look, Howard, I want the Emmy for my appearance on, he was on Beverly Hills 90210, and he thought he deserved an Emmy.
Oh, God!
Yeah, so he goes, I deserve the Emmy. He goes, but I can't say it. You'll say,
oh, my God.
Uncle Milty, you were fantastic in the Beverly Hills 90210. Then I'm going to go, no, Howard. Then you say, you deserve the Emmy. And I'll say, no, Howard, I can't. And then I'll say, I'm going to say a joke here, but then you pause for 2 seconds. These older comics, they wanted to plan out every fucking thing they said.
And I have a friend, I always joke about that episode of 90210 because that's where he has a stroke in the middle of the show, and he's in a wheelchair, and he called someone Chucky, and it's like, Shucky. Oh, with the buck teeth. And
Groucho at the end, it was just and Dick Cavett apparently didn't care. He would interview him for hours. It would go on and on for hours. It was like the rabbi at the it would just go on.
And you know who else made me sad toward the end that I wish had retired soon was Rodney.
Rodney too, yeah. Rodney started to get into that at the end too when he come on the show. He'd say, "Howard, you ask me this and I'll that kind of thing." But Rodney was so fucking great in his day.
He was. Oh, he used to.
Groucho.
He would come out. Rodney, in the early days of the Carson show, he'd do a set that was great, and then panel would be even better.
Right.
Did you know him at all, Rodney?
I did 2 of terrible films with him.
Which ones did you do?
Oh, God.
Do you remember?
Meet Wally Sparks. We all remember that one.
And Rodney had some great ones, but you got stuck with
we don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Meet Wally Sparks and even better, Back by Midnight.
Oh, dear.
Jeez, those are 2 I really don't know.
Oh, nobody. And Back by Midnight, I think it was like weird people investing. It looked like Arab people who couldn't speak English.
You didn't even get to be in Ladybugs. Wasn't that one?
Yeah. That was when, like, the beginning of the end for him, Ladybugs.
I know.
But, I mean, when Rodney would come out later on, I saw him screw up I Don't Get No Respect.
No.
Yeah.
You mean how old? You're talking about right near the end.
Yeah. And I thought, oh, my God, would he please retire? I don't want to see him like this.
Yeah, it's weird. Do you think
now, Gilbert, will you know?
Want to retire?
I should have retired 30 years ago.
But you're not in any position retire. Like you said, you struggle financially. In all seriousness, you struggle. And I think people think you're a very wealthy guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, he never spends any money.
But think about it. He doesn't spend any money. But at the same point, where's Gilbert getting any money from?
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, my series is going gangbusters.
Do you remember when? Did you invest in that stock? Hold on a second. Do you remember this, Gilbert? This is when Groucho called Swap Shop, the radio show.
Oh, okay.
All right, here we go. Listen to this.
All right, so that's a good deal. $26. All right. We got about 3 or 4 minutes to go. Good morning. You're on Swap Shop.
Oh.
Hello? Okay, let's go back to line 1.
Good morning. You're on Swap Shop.
Well, hello there, children.
Hello.
I was going to have some more soldiers in Afghanistan.
You going to do what now?
Oh, my goodness.
Is this where the fumicle possession's been located?
No?
Do you want to see my penis?
Hello? I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's...
They wanted me to put them on hold.
Well, it's getting carried out of hand.
I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah. I'm not either. So, anyway, good morning. You're on Swap Shop.
You know, back in my day, getting married was like a Western. It felt like a Western, and it had, in Westerns, there would be cowboys, because that was years ago, because that's the way people dressed in the West.
Huh.
That's great.
Yes. Back in my day, he was no...
When was your day?
What is your
Because
age?
he was getting married, if he preferred that. I would drink a cup of coffee. Back in my day, they would make it in a pot, and people would drink coffee hot back then, and sometimes you would put cream in it, old man.
Liz, we appreciate your call.
Liz.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to sing with Jerry Lee Lewis.
That was when Groucho, actually, right before he died, he called Swap Shop. It's so great. I love how they have to be polite to you because you're an old man.
Well,
Right. They want to see how polite. They keep asking, how old are you?
Favorite part of that, of listening to that, is when I'm on there going, well, holy mackerel, and they go, oh, we're going to put him on hold. Like, they don't hang up.
No, they love it.
Yeah.
So, in other words, getting back to the beginning of this interview.
Yes.
With all of these impressions you were doing and all of this brilliance, you never got from your parents, hey, we think Gilbert might be onto something. We think he's brilliant.
It would go back back then. I'm opening up my.
Is that your plug?
Yeah,
I got your plug.
Oh, you have it?
Let me do it.
Yeah, here.
It's as if he's going to sit here.
Ow!
Wait, I have it.
Yeah, oh, you do? I don't know if you have the whole thing. Just read it very quick.
All right, here's what they should announce.
Yes,
October 19th, Catch a Rising Star, the Stanhope House, Stanhope, New Jersey. Wow, you really do need money. November 1st through 4th, Zanies in Chicago.
He's working.
November 17th, McGuire's on Long Island. November 23rd, Catch a Rising Star in Princeton. December 6th through 8th, Side Splitters in Tampa.
Oh, my God.
December 20th, Caroline's on Broadway. And then, of course, Rubber Balls and Liquor available at GilbertGottfried.com. Now, explain to me what's going on with Rubber Balls and Liquor. That's your book.
Oh, yeah.
Comedy book. It's jokes.
And you could get an autographed copy on my website.
You want people to buy the book. It's available on Amazon for like $12. But you want people to buy it on your website for like $20-something. Explain why we should do that.
Well, I breathed on it. My autograph is on it.
Is that right? You want us to order it from the website? Is that because you autograph it or something?
Yeah, I do autograph it.
Okay,
yes.
right.
So when I drop dead, it'll be worth an extra $1.
Skyrocket.
Yeah.
It's a good investment. Twitter is at Real Gilbert. You've been tweeting a lot. We know about that.
Yeah, oh, yes.
Does it annoy you that Affleck was, Gary and I argue about this. Gary says Affleck is the reason you're suffering because you made a tremendous amount of money with the Affleck commercials. I go, Gary, I don't think Gilbert made a lot of money with that. Did you?
It was good money, and I love the fact that now they've got a guy imitating me.
I've heard it, yeah.
Yeah, there was so much against me that here's the best part about it is that before the tsunami hit, my agent was negotiating for a new term. And someone at Affleck said, we can just get rid of him and get someone to do his voice.
Well, that's the same logic they did at NBC Radio. They said, we can get rid of Stern. He's a big troublemaker, and we'll just get somebody to talk a lot in the afternoon, and we'll get him a female sidekick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's that kind of thinking. But the value of having you as the Affleck duck is, I imagine when you went and did these commercials, you kind of brainstormed with them, and you jammed a little bit, and you could do lines as the Affleck duck.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And then they would also... and then what really pissed me, when they did that whole thing, we're looking for the new voice.
Of the Affleck duck.
And they would start putting it on my Twitter account.
Really?
Yeah. And that really...
What do you mean they put it on your Twitter account?
Well, like on my Twitter and emails, you know how you get, like, these phony bullshit ads?
Yeah.
Where they go... Hey, ask any of my buds. They'll tell you that I don't believe in these investment plans, but wow, I just put some money in so-and-so trust and got this, how they those bullshit. Or I didn't think my penis could get larger with this.
Right.
I knew that was bull, and they were putting those like, hey, man, I was hearing about this Affleck audition thing, and you could go there at 603-11.
Was it a lot of money, the Affleck? Gary, what did you think it was that Gilbert was getting paid?
Could you say that over the course of doing the Affleck duck, did you make over $300,000 for that?
No, you said he made $300,000 a year.
A year.
I don't think you made $300,000 a year.
I made good money.
But not $300,000. Yeah. Gary's got it.
Well, hold on. He's not really saying.
Yeah.
Is it more than $300,000?
Was it 6 figures?
What? Are you uncomfortable saying it? Is
yes.
that
I'm telling you, he made more. He made good money. That's a national spot.
Yeah, but I don't think it was over $300,000. I think you think it's way more money than it was.
I think it was over $300,000 a year.
I don't.
But I think it's unfortunate that the guy that can answer is right there.
But I think you think that Gilbert makes a lot more money than he does.
Well, I think Gilbert has a lot of other enterprises. He does a lot of voiceover. He did the Disney voiceover. He's had a lot of commercial spots.
You get paid for that one. Like, you think that...
but when they bring him back for the next movie, doesn't he ask for more? Like, you did the first Disney movie, right?
Yes.
When they bring you back, do you have any leverage?
No.
Well, wait, let him answer.
The answer's no. Watch. Go ahead, Gilbert.
Well, I have the best agents in the world because when I came back for Problem Child 2, the agent says, oh, they want you back for Problem Child 2. They're offering you this much. And he goes, I think that's more than the last time.
Didn't bother to look?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, could have been less.
No, I'm just saying, I think people have the impression that when you hear a voice on, or
like the Affleck commercial that's ongoing.
Or you see Gilbert on TV and stuff, it's not necessarily that you're a wealthy person. You have fame without the wealth.
But with an endorsement like Affleck,
right?
You think that there is a lot of money with that because that ran for years.
And there should be a lot of money.
It's a voiceover job.
It was enough money for them to get truly offended by a horrible tragedy and fire me and save money.
That's ridiculous. I mean,
it was enough that they wanted to save the money.
You made a joke about the tsunami in Japan, and now nobody even remembers the tsunami in Japan. Unless you're living in Japan and you're getting all that nuclear radiation.
And the best thing, too, is now tsunami is like this funny word on TV.
Right.
Now it's like, hey, they said it was going to be sunny out. Now it's a regular tsunami. And it's like, oh, okay.
You're a victim of poor timing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like if you made a tsunami joke now, no one would even know what the fuck you were talking about. No one would care. It's just that you did it right after the thing, and then they fired you.
And did it affect your other employment? Did people hire you less for voiceover?
I remember right when it happened, I got fired from a comedy club. Making me the first comedian to get fired for telling a joke. We can't hire him. He tells jokes.
It drives you crazy when you see that happening, right? The fact that, like, even guys in comedy clubs now are getting censored a lot, or their shows are being taped.
Well, I mean, even Paris Hilton, she made some gay reference in a cab,
right?
And that got all over the place,
right?
And I heard she lost some job for that because in a cab, it's like
who knows what's going on anymore. Everybody's taping everybody. Do you have an iPhone? Do you take pictures and stuff?
Sometimes
you do.
Yeah,
the kids.
And it's like. Also, it's like, well, what was it? I even wrote an article on CNN, because I'm a great writer now, about Daniel Tosh. He made a rape joke.
The comedian Daniel Tosh.
Yeah.
Right, he made a rape joke in a club.
Yeah, so I wrote an article on CNN about that, because he made a rape joke, and then it was like, oh, my God.
And he apologized for it.
And also Dane Cook made some joke about God knows what.
I think his was a rape joke too. I'm not sure.
I think it was all after that.
Oh, I think it was the Batman thing.
Right. Maybe he made a joke about
Dane Cook was Batman. That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that movie where Dane Cook was Batman.
One thing about Gilbert, he's never made a good rape joke. If anybody's counting.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I've made passable rape jokes, but never a good one.
I still find it amazing in your career trajectory that Saturday Night Live never used you the right way.
Oh.
Because your impressions, even your Seinfeld, I'm just talking now, back when you were on it, the Groucho thing would have been a great character, even if it wasn't just a talk show with this old doddering man would have been great. Your Dracula would have been fucking incredible. I don't think they knew how to, your dice, all that stuff.
Oh, I remember once on Saturday Night Live, a writer comes up to me, and, they do the read-through where they'd have 100 bits. And they'd say, okay, in this one, you might have to do an impression of so-and-so. Maybe Piscopo can help you with that. And it was like, I thought, because I don't do impressions.
Yeah. You've not accomplished anything.
Yeah. And then they used me in one part in one of the shows as a corpse.
How insulting.
Yeah.
You didn't even get up and say, now it's Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
You're going to be a funny corpse.
The funny thing I've learned about you, though, is because I've worked with you a few times outside of the radio show, and you're a difficult guy to manage because, you definitely want to do things your way. And also you're an incredibly kind of humble guy. You won't push yourself on anybody. You won't go into a writer's meeting and go, guys, watch me do Dracula and let's write a script about this, or let me do this. You will just sit there and wither away on the vine rather than speak up. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Some guys would walk in there and go, hey, shut the fuck up. This is what I'm doing.
Right.
And, yeah.
It's not you.
Yeah, I'm not Milton Berle.
So while
in more ways than one.
Yeah, but while Piscopo's sitting in the writers' meeting, pitching 57 different Frank Sinatra things and this and that and the other thing, you're just sitting there and you're the guy sitting there with all this talent, but you're not pushing yourself.
Yeah, I'm just like, I would just walk in there and creep around and whatever.
It's sad.
And
You're not competitive that way, though, which is it's to your detriment, because if you had gone into Saturday Night Live and just pushed and said, guys, I'm doing this, this, and this, but there's something why do you think you hold back?
That I don't know. And I'm one of those people, too, who now has, like, I build up a gigantic thing of, like, collection of, I should have said that.
Yeah, I mean, if you were at the meeting at Saturday Night Live, if I was your representative, I'd go, have him do Jerry Seinfeld. You're going to fucking die.
Yeah.
And then they would have put you in that fucking makeup. Every week you would have walked out as Jerry Seinfeld, and they would have had you Jerry Seinfeld. It would have been amazing. I want to shake you.
Yeah. You were the one on your Channel 9 show that
Dice Gottfried
insisted I come out and be Dice through the whole show.
And it was so difficult with you, only that I would say, Gilbert, that Dice Gottfried you do is so fucking hysterical. Would you just come out for 5 minutes in the leather jacket that was way too big on you?
Yeah.
And be Dice Gottfried.
It was your jacket.
Yes, I said, please.
It's like a circus tent.
It was the funniest thing. And you came out and you were relentless with that gay guy and doing your gay jokes, and it was just incredible. I mean, I loved it. I really did. It drives me nuts with this Gilbert. To get him to do something is very difficult. Very difficult.
All you want him to do is showcase his talent.
And yet you're a brave guy. You left home at, 16?
Yeah, well, I left
dropped out of school.
Yeah, and I started, like, going to these clubs at night, which is
amazing to me that you had the balls to do that.
Well, see, I think there's, like, a thin line between, like, courage and stupidity, and I think maybe I was more stupid.
What'd you do the first time you got on stage? Did you do impressions?
Oh, yeah.
Who'd you do?
And I was doing, like, I could still do a young Groucho then. I wouldn't even know how to do that now.
Yeah, you forgot.
But I'd do like Peter Lorre and stuff like that.
And what was Peter Lorre doing in your act? I mean, what was the idea there?
I forget the actual. I would throw them in these situations.
Right.
And even back then, my act was totally dated.
Yeah, he was doing Peter Lorre. But you didn't care what people thought. I don't know. I thought it was incredibly brave. And I guess you dropped out of school because you were getting, I guess, quote-unquote, bullied.
Yeah.
Was that why you left?
Well, he was such like, see, and that brings me back to this thing again. To me, it's like, stop being a pussy. Right. You're bullied.
Well, Gilbert was probably distracting everybody. They were so busy bullying him, they couldn't do their studies.
Did your father give you a lecture when you left home? Like, did he go, how can you do this? You need an education.
Well, this was like before the whole comedy boom started. And like after that, it seemed like when the comedy boom was going on, it seemed like, every single person you met was, I'm doing comedy now.
Yeah.
And there was comedy clubs on every corner. And back then, it would be like saying, I'm going to be the next Bob Hope.
Right. What year was this that you went and did? Well, how old? What year was it when you were
16.
When you left home?
Yeah.
Oh, gee, I don't know. I didn't leave home for a while. It was
you left school.
You left school.
Yeah.
I can't imagine your parents weren't up your ass.
Oh God. Yeah. Now when you get older, you start to realize what your parents were thinking. Back then you go, they're two like assholes. They don't know anything.
Yeah, right.
And then when you get older, you go, oh my God.
Did they freak out? I mean, that must have been a family scandal. That young Gilbert dropped out of school.
Yeah.
Did you have to go tell them, or you just dropped out of school?
It was so idiotic. Like I do everything in my life. After a while, I dropped out, and I would spend time at the library.
And pretend you were still going to school?
Yeah.
So no one knew you dropped out?
It was insane.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Were you a class cutter a lot, or leading up to this? Were you a bad student?
Yeah, and I failed everything.
So how do you know how to write? I mean, technically, how do you know how to write? I mean, with commas and grammar and all that. Do you have somebody correct all that stuff, or were you good at that?
I mean, they have to correct it. I figured out some of it over the years.
Right.
But they had to correct a lot of it.
You didn't have a really good education.
No.
Are you sorry now? Do you ever fantasize about like taking some sort of adult ed or like learning things?
You know what? What's funny is that I meet so many people who graduated college with degrees who sound like total assholes.
Right. Do you read a lot so you can?
Yeah.
You read a lot of books.
Yeah.
That's your thing.
Yeah, and I used to read Famous Monsters of Filmland.
Oh, really good books.
But it's unbelievable. I mean, I think about like dropping out of school and having to tell your parents.
Insane.
Oh, my God.
Insane. Yeah.
Oh, my God. And then if you fuck up as a comic...
Oh, man.
Then you look like a complete idiot.
Yeah.
Did they say to you, if you fuck up, that's it? We don't want to see you again? Did they try to sort of disown you for doing this?
They I think in the beginning especially, thought this was crazy as anybody would. Well, even now, when there's more opportunities, when I hear someone saying, oh, well, like, I'm trying to be a comic, I feel like, oh, you asshole. Why don't you...
Is it a horrible life?
Yeah. I feel like, well, also, all the years I was doing the clubs for free, waiting to get on stage.
Yeah.
And I think about all the people that I saw every single night for years, and now I don't remember their names. I don't remember what they look like.
Like, you at least had success.
Yeah.
Imagine what it was. You know, I'm the same way in radio. There were guys I work with in Hartford, for example. Fred, that guy who did Afternoons, Peter.
Yes, Peter Cole.
Peter Cole, those guys. I think about it, I go like, well, these guys were already like in their late 20s. Some of them were 30s. How did they have a career? I mean, the years you're supposed to spend building your career, and they're not in radio, I get, or maybe they are. I mean, what happened to all these guys?
I think the guy you're talking about actually went into banking and is doing very well.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But the comics, I mean, a lot of them I saw every night, and now I can remember, like, well, one of them used to wear this tan jacket, and I can't picture his face or name, and I think they just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, what happened?
And whenever I'm worried about my career, I always think, oh, my God, like, I'm the biggest thing in show business.
So if somebody came to you now, young kid, maybe, you know, in college or something, or high school, and says, oh, my dream is to be a stand-up, you would just, like, discourage it, right? You would just say, it's just awful. My
feeling is, if he got a job selling apples out in the street, I go, well, you know, you make like 35 cents a day.
What's the bad part of it? You mean just the angst and the misery you have to go through?
Also, just plain not making it.
Right.
Or being those comics who go, you know, they're your opening act, and then they say, okay, I can't see you tonight. I can't watch your show tonight because I got to get in my car and drive to Ohio.
Right. What a terrible life.
Yeah.
You know, I even think of like guys who do my show, like Doug Stanhope. I think he's a brilliant guy. And I don't know what he's doing. Like, is he having a good life? I mean, I don't know. And he's got a name and stuff, and yet, what kind of career is that? I mean, if they don't get a sitcom, like you had opportunities. I mean, you were in movies and you were on Saturday Night Live and all that stuff.
Things,
But you're right. But if you're a road comic your entire life and you don't get any success, it's tough.
Oh, my God, yeah. And then these ones that don't even make it to the road comic level.
So if you had to do it all over again in your mind, might you have stayed in school and just said, fuck it, I'm going to get a profession where I don't have
What would you do, Gilbert?
But I mean, seriously, might you have said, you know,
I want to be a businessman.
I don't need all this angst in my life. I don't need all this misery.
Well, see, I think that my problem is, even if I had stayed in school, I think I would have wound up with those kind of jobs that Jerry Lewis has in his movies. Like,
Bellboy.
Yeah, like, Jerome, I want you to watch over this gas station while I go to lunch.
Gilbert Gottfried, dentist. Who knows?
Yes.
Who knows?
I'll be standing and I'll just wait here and...
By the way, do you like doing these roasts, or do you find those even just full of anxiety? Like, you have to get up there and quote-unquote kill... And you have, like, you just did the Roseanne roast. And and it was great. I saw it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got a standing ovation.
Yeah, but do you have to sit there, even though you've been in this business 1,000 years, do you have to sit there and worry that you're going to bomb and tank each time?
Always. And before I go on stage now, I'm thinking, I can't do this. How do I walk out there and just stand there and...
Because it seems stupid at this point.
Yeah. It's like... And
I imagine rock band guys who get older, like when you're 19, it looks kind of cool. They must feel like complete assholes when they're 50 out there.
And they've got their hair is really long on the sides, and they've lost it on the top.
Yeah.
And they can't see or hear, and they're leaping up in the air. They can't do, and they must be
So you went. So when you go to Roseanne, it's like all of a sudden you're writing material like it's like you're a beginner.
Yeah, and when I'm on stage, and I'm sure this happens to you, it's like, do you ever, like, in the middle of the show go, what the fuck am I doing right now?
All the time.
Yeah.
I go on a talk show.
Yeah.
Not so bad now, but it used to be when I go on Letterman, I go, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
Why am I even, like, what am I trying? There's an audience sitting there. I mean, the whole fucking thing is surreal.
Sometimes I'll be on stage, and it'll hit me for a second. They'll go... Wait a minute. I'm standing here. People are looking at me, and I'm acting stupid.
You're right. You want to just go home.
Yeah.
But listen, this is how you chose to make a living, and now you kind of, there's nothing to fall back on. This is what you got to do.
Kind of like,
does he see any funny genes in his children?
Hopefully not.
You want to eradicate that.
Yeah, right.
It's like Hyman Roth and Godfather. This is the business we've chosen. I often remember that line whenever I complain about my career.
Right, and I know what you're saying. Listen, you wouldn't have had it any other way. This is what you did. But the anxiety that it's cost you, and the angst, and the trying to build a career, very, very difficult.
And, people think... Like, I love when people say, I've got a script I want you to look at. And I think, oh, yeah, because I can just snap my fingers and get a studio to do it. and it's like, I think even now it's like, if like, Al Pacino is in a movie, it's like Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro turned down that movie.
Right.
And so even at that point...
it's sickening.
And I once did a commercial where they used to use, like, they'd have a celebrity for each one. And they did one with Don Rickles, who was like 100.
Right.
And they went to his house, and Don Rickles said to them, okay, who died or who's in the hospital that you got me? It's like, so that never stops.
No, it's always awful. Is that what, seriously, when you were in the hospital, and it was serious with your appendix?
Yes.
I mean, you really did contemplate getting out of the business. And that's why, right? I mean, it was just like you were like, well, wait a second, I almost died. Is this really how I want to spend the rest of my life?
Yeah.
Worrying and
he
trying.
spent long hours. What am I doing? What have I been doing?
But I get that. I mean, it was self-examination.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's like, did your parents ever come to you and say, hey, Gilbert, we're proud of you, like you made the right decision going into comedy, like around, I don't know if your father was still alive or at the time of Saturday Night Live and all that. Did they see any of that? Your mom's still alive, right?
No.
Oh, she died?
No, yeah.
Oh, I met her in the hospital.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a long time.
Yeah, that's when you were there with the baseball cap.
Yeah. When did she die? How many years ago did she die?
Oh, a number of years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you go to the funeral or were you just disgusted?
No, I was working that day. I couldn't get out of it. I was doing giggles in Cincinnati.
Did your mother get to see her grandchildren at all? Your granddaughter?
Oh, no.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah.
Did she ever turn to you and say, I'm proud of you? Or your father, did he ever do that?
No, there was no talking like that in the family.
There was no emotional conversation.
You would start to every now and then see someone would be impressed. Like, I remember my grandmother was impressed that she saw me on the Cosby Show.
Right.
Okay.
And stuff like that.
Right.
But
there
you
was
would
no
hear
winning
something like that.
There was no winning that family over.
No. But, I love when I hear people bitching where they say, oh, when I was a child, I got every material thing I wanted, but they didn't hug me.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, man.
You're lucky they talked to you.
Yeah.
You didn't get the things, and you didn't get the hugs.
Did your father get your humor at all? Did he just think you were a complete shithead?
At times he would get it. Other times he'd think I was a shit. And I think it went back and forth.
Was he abusive in the sense that he'd say to you, "Hey, you're being an idiot. You're being stupid about stuff," or was he?
It depends on the mood.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, but he never fingered you or anything. You were brutal at the Roseanne roast, though. Like, you write your own material for that, right? Or do they help you with it?
Brutal at the Roseanne roast.
Yeah,
sometimes they help.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he said about me at Joan Rivers' roast?
I did a whole bit about.
What did you say about Robin? I don't even remember.
About her being molested.
Oh, wow.
And saying...
and feeling bad for my dad.
Yeah. And like, the father was really ashamed because he fucked Robin instead of someone really attractive.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. He was awful.
Robin, I'd like to think somebody else wrote that for Gilbert.
Awful.
But what was the take on Roseanne? I swear to you, I can't remember, but it was just fucking crazy. It was like, what was it? Refresh my memory for a second.
Oh, that was, she was a monster Rosilla.
Oh, she took it like a man.
Oh, yeah.
Would you ever allow anyone to roast you? Would you ever be, if they said to you, Gilbert, you could be the topic of the roast?
The only time I remember being offered a roast, and this was like so idiotic. They said, well, make it the Gilbert Gottfried roast. But it was like some club somewhere for no money.
That's the roast in itself.
And I said, and plus, who is going to be there roasting me? I don't know anybody. And the schmuck, this agent, goes to me, goes, well, Howard would, and I thought,
Howard?
Yeah, and I thought, yeah, and the Queen of England might stop in, too.
Obama's coming, too.
Oh, yeah.
Was Roseanne a good comedian? Was she somebody you respected, or you just couldn't wait to get out there and goof on her?
No.
Like, you're not a Roseanne fan, are you?
On and off. It was like, I actually, she's one of the people like you who, when that whole tsunami thing, she, like, spoke in my favor.
Right. Oh, so that's good.
Yeah.
Is that why you agreed to do it, or was it for the payday?
Yeah, the payday.
Was she a good comedian in her day? She was a good comedian, but
yeah.
Are you one of those guys that goes, no women can be funny kind of thing? Is that...
I mean, there's like a handful. Like, I like Joan Rivers.
Right.
You know, she was very
terrific.
funny.
Yeah, right.
And she, another one who stood up for me.
I would think Sarah Silverman you would like. Have you ever seen her perform live?
Oh, yeah.
Because she'll do rape jokes. She'll do... I mean, she gets about as down and dirty as any dude I ever met. Or you're not a fan?
No. She's funny.
You like her?
Yeah.
You never fucked her, did you?
No.
But do comedians drive you crazy, the ones that achieve huge success, and you kind of think they're not that good?
Oh, constantly.
Is there someone that drives you crazy?
Yeah.
Like someone who just stinks, and then like you go, what the fuck? How are they successful?
Yeah, I mean, I watch that all the time, and I go, I don't get it. Well, it's just like when a movie comes out, and it's the biggest movie of all time, and you watch it, and you go, what is this?
Did you ever try to write a movie?
No. I'm the one person who's never tried to write a movie.
But why, though? I mean, you've got a brilliant mind. Why not do it?
Yeah.
No?
I don't know.
Just not motivated.
Yeah, just not motivated.
It's like high school. I'll drop out.
He doesn't want to name the names of the comedians.
Yeah.
No, I think we missed out on that.
And you know what's funny about it? Even in comedy, there are certain names. It's like if they ask you who influenced you.
Who influenced you?
Who influenced you? You have to say Richard Pryor.
Right.
Even if you've not familiar with one line he ever said. You go, oh, Richard Pryor. Especially black comics. Oh, Richard Pryor. Because they don't want to say, oh, well, like the Beverly Hillbillies I like.
Well, it's funny because like people used to say that to me about Imus. They'd go, well, Imus must have influenced you. I go, I never even heard Imus. But people are incredulous. They go, what are you talking about? I go, I never listened to AM radio with Imus. The first time I heard Imus was my father sent me a tape. I was working in Washington, D.C., and I said, hey, NBC's thinking of hiring me. Can you send me some tapes of this guy Imus? He's the morning guy. And people find that remarkable. And Richard Pryor, I mean, I remember watching Richard Pryor, but Eddie Murphy had more of an impact on me with his stand-up than Richard Pryor did.
Yeah, you'll ask, especially black comics, you'll ask like one who's like 15 now, and they'll go, oh, Richard Pryor, really?
Who influenced you?
Richard Pryor.
Yeah, Richard Pryor. Oh, and of course, Lenny Bruce, if you're a little older.
Right, the whole Lenny Bruce thing, too. How many guys you know really actually heard Lenny Bruce? Yeah. And when you hear those tapes, you get fucking bored out of your mind.
Yeah, you're watching, and it's like, hey, man, Dick.
And then you talk like that, right?
Like, I play the bongo, man. And like I'm having a vodka party, and, so like I'm in court for obscenity, man, and it's like a real beatnik, really like.
I don't even know where the jokes are in that thing. Lone Ranger and Tonto. I've listened to the bit 17 times. I can't get through the whole thing.
Yes,
it's insane.
And in the same way that there are the comics that are very acceptable to say you hate, like in Dane Cook is one. That one you could get away with. You go, oh, I hate Dane Cook and I hate Gallagher.
Right, yeah, that's okay to say.
That's okay.
Or Carrot Top. It's fine to say that. Like,
you're
there's certain
given
people you're allowed.
Permission.
Right. There's certain people you're allowed to criticize.
Yes, and you have to say you hate them.
Right. In fact, if you say you like Carrot Top, you get drummed out of the business.
Yeah.
Big influence has been Carrot Top. Okay, get the fuck out of here.
Well, it's just like I hear it with rock stars and stuff. They'll pick out, they say, who influenced you, and they'll pick out like, oh, well, Toothless McGee, and some weird old blues guy.
I was afraid to admit on the air this morning that I like Gangnam Style. You know what I mean? Because like people will goof on me for my musical taste. Who cares?
Yeah, you're not going to say, I was a big Madonna fan, because that'll make you unhip.
But do you remember, like, what age you were when you decided you wanted to be a comic? I bet you were really young.
I was really young, yeah.
And who do you think influenced you?
And who was it? Yeah, where did you see
I watched so many comics on TV, and I would watch the Marx Brothers and Jerry Lewis, and then they had all those variety shows.
But you never saw stand-up. Would you listen to records of stand-up comedians?
I listened to a few that other people had, and those were always the most depressing.
Yeah.
Stand-up albums.
Except for the dirty ones like Mom's Mabel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I was talking to my husband the other day.
Why on Saturday Night Live didn't they dress you up as an old black woman and be Mom's Mabel? You would have been... I think they blew it with you.
See, that was another thing. I would do imitations like that on stage.
But that's funny.
I would go like, well, it's not to be him of an awful creature.
Well, listen, Gilbert, you're a delight.
Yeah.
Of course. Let us give your plugs.
We learned more about Gilbert today than we have in a long time.
We learned a lot about Gilbert today.
Yes.
It was one of the, you know what? It's like Haley's Comet. Once every 70-some-odd years, Gilbert's the real Gilbert.
Oh, wow.
And I just remembered. When you were playing those tapes of me.
Yeah.
Is that, like, a lot of times when I'm not on the show and I'm not even listening that morning.
Right.
I'll know that you'll have my laugh on tape that you'll play during the news.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And because I'll get a bunch of tweets, angry tweets.
How can you laugh? How can you laugh at a child being murdered?
They'll go, maybe you think.
You play that every day.
I'll get these tweets going. Maybe you think a 2-year-old girl being raped and murdered is funny.
Robin will do a story like, today a father burned his daughter.
Microwaved his child. Yeah.
In fact, we had you laugh at the tsunami. We sent it to Affleck. It's a demonic laugh. It truly is, but it's a great laugh. It's an angry laugh. Gilbert Gottfried's book, Rubber Balls and Liquor, is in stores now. See Gilbert at Zanies.
Oh, but get it on GilbertGottfried.com.
That's very important. He's suffering financially.
Yeah, yes.
See Gilbert at Zanies in Chicago, November 1st and 2nd, and December 20th at Caroline's on Broadway. For more information and additional dates, go to GilbertGottfried.com. And now the laundry list.
Oh, yes.
Don't interrupt.
Yeah, hey, don't slow me down.
This is where I shut up.
October 19th, Catch a Rising Star, the Stanhope House, Stanhope, New Jersey. November 1st through the 4th, Zanies in Chicago. November 17th, McGuire's on Long Island. November 23rd, Catch a Rising Star, Princeton, New Jersey. Are you writing this down? Side Splitters, Tampa, Florida. Caroline's on Broadway, New York, New York. And the list goes on and on and on. Gilbert,
and my Twitter account.
at Gilbert at Real Gilbert.
At Real Gilbert.
Somebody else has Gilbert Gottfried?
Oh, yeah. And I remember having to buy GilbertGottfried.com from someone. And with the Twitter, I said, fuck it. I'll just call it Real Gilbert.
Right, at Real Gilbert. Yeah. And there's a check mark next to your name, right? Are you verified?
I don't know. I know it's Real Gilbert.
Do you actually physically tweet, or do you call it into someone?
Sometimes I tweeted my tsunami jokes.
You did. You didn't check with anyone on that? Are you sorry you did that? Not sorry in terms of the content, but sorry just because of the hit financially.
Yeah, just the hit financially. Because I remember back then, I had to send out an apology because everyone's going, you got to send out an apology. And I picked out one that was, they wrote one. Yeah. And I picked, it's just like when Mike Tyson sends out something, and it's like these words that he couldn't possibly pronounce.
Yeah, right. It's like the Michael Vick quote. Michael Vick got a dog, believe it or not.
Oh, yes.
He just got a dog. And he wrote a statement, and you can just, it's just no way it's Michael Vick.
Yeah. Or when it's quotes from, like, when they talked to Muhammad Ali recently.
Right.
And it's really eloquent.
By the way, Gilbert is verified. He does have the little check mark. It just seems to me that you wouldn't be a guy who used Twitter, but it's good for your career because you can tweet out where you're going to appear. I would think that's good for you.
See, now, since it was a big deal back then with the whole tsunami thing, and now it's like every week there's a new person who must apologize for something.
Right, and then they hand over their Twitter account to a professional Twitter place.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, people cannot be trusted to be themselves.
Yeah.
Well, look, Gilbert.
Well, what does Gilbert think of the joke at this point? Was it a good joke?
Oh, the
tsunami joke?
The tsunami joke.
I made a few of them, and it's like some were funny, some were dopey.
Right.
And it's like what's the thing that everyone was saying is like, well, but wait a second. You were in the Aristocrats, and you're on Stern all the time.
Well,
and now they're shocked.
It's so crazy because really, I look at those jokes, and every Wall Street guy starts telling these jokes after a tragedy.
Right. Any tragedy.
I mean, come on.
Even before the internet, these would spread like crazy.
Right.
Like with the space shuttle, there'd be like 10 that would immediately come out, and everyone knew them in 5 minutes.
Where did this statement occur where you gave a eulogy to Phyllis Diller? You liked Phyllis Diller.
Oh, yeah.
What was that, for Time Magazine?
That was also CNN.
Oh, CNN.
CNN.com.
And I mean, even when you wrote
There's Daniel Tosh and the Phyllis Diller.
Yeah, and even when you wrote your sort of eulogy about Phyllis Diller, you were kind of like making jokes about her, too, even though you appreciate it.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, you're not a serious guy. You're never going to make a serious... If I drop dead tomorrow, you're going to say,
You're not going to cry.
But it was a big no schmuck, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna go up and do 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. It's just never going to happen when you're serious. All right, look, we're going to leave you now with Gilbert calling a gay bathhouse.
A classic.
That's right. Here we go. Here's Gilbert and the gay bathhouse. Gilbert, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And here we go.
What are you, a homo? Ow!
Tommy?
Yes. Hickory dickory dock. Ow!
All right, say something worth listening to, or...
Ow!
You fucking dickwad. You stop annoying me. Why don't you come on in here and then we'll talk. You fucking asshole. Come on, come down here. Don't call me on the phone, you pussy.
What, are you a homo?
Are you?
Yes.
Do you have the address? Come on down and fuck with me, you little fucker.
In your face.
In your face, fuckface. Come on down here, motherfucker. Come on, pussy. Hey, that's the best you can do.
Okay.
Come on down here and say it to my face, you motherfucker.
Okay.
Do it. Get down here. Hurry. Fucking knock you next week, motherfucker.
Oh, I love this.
Come on. Bring it on, motherfucker. Bring it on.
Oh, I don't like what Gilbert do!
Dick face. Come on, bring it on.
Yes.
Oh,
my muscles feel so much better
now. You're just gonna
now.
call me on the phone and be a dick.
Did you ever go down there?
Here and try it.
No.
Oh, that's right.
Asshole.
Oh, excellent.
All right, there it is. Good for you. Good for you. One of your classics.
Oh, yes.
Congratulations on that. Brilliant work. All right, Gilbert Gottfried, everyone. Go see him and get over to his website and buy his books.
Yeah.
We'll be back right after these words.